Welcome to That Guy Talks Movies. I am that guy talking movies. Again, I've been absent since my last review, which was Oppenheimer. I think it was maybe 2 months ago or so, maybe 3 months. I apologize to the people who view my content and stick with me. I even had someone ask in a comment like, hey, what happened to that dude? I'm here. I've just gotten lazy. I've gotten busy with family and traveling and doing things. And also sort of a lack of excitement when it comes to content and things that have been coming out either in streaming or in the actual theater. A sort of lackluster excitement, except for Flowers of the Killer Moon, which I haven't even seen yet. I haven't committed to that yet. So, and looking forward to Dune. But I'm going to do another whole video which talks about this, you know, what I'm describing here as far as lack of excitement when it comes to cinema. And we'll get into that. But this episode, I want to talk about Netflix, The Killer. This is David Fincher and Andrew Kevin Walker. Now, when I first saw the trailer for this and found out that David Fincher and Andrew Kevin Walker were working together again, now they did Seven, my favorite movie of all time. Easily my favorite movie of all time. Seven and Gladiator. I was thrilled. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. And then I saw the trailer with Michael Fassbender. I like Michael Fassbender. I love Michael Fassbender. And I'm thinking this is going to be dope. I couldn't wait to see this. Now, confession, I didn't see it in the movie theater, which I was slightly disappointed at myself for not doing that, but I never got around to doing it. Next thing I know, it's on Netflix, it's streaming. I was like, all right, got to sit down one night and I've got to watch this film. Sat down to watch this film. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you the quick positives, followed by the negatives. Positives. The Smiths. The killer, Michael Fassbender's character in this, uses music sort of as his, I guess, a mode of focus or concentration when he's executing his work, doing his work. The Smiths. A couple Smith songs are played here. Morrissey, my boy, right? I love the Smiths. Then there's also a Portishead song that's playing from Dummy, when there's a scene in Dominican Republic, and there's a Portishead song playing in the house. And I was like, oh, that's nice. What else? Well, there's a scene with Tilda Swinton, who I love Tilda Swinton. And there's a scene in a restaurant, some dialogue between her and the main guy, Fassbender, the killer. And that was a interesting scene. So I'll give that a positive. I'll give that a pro. Put that on the pro list. Now for the negatives. Everything else is a negative. The entire film. My time spent watching it is negative. My time having to talk about it is a negative. The entire film fails. Now, this is based on a graphic novel or comic book, a French comic book of the same name, The Killer. And Andrew Kevin Walker did the script for this, but again, it's based on that tale. And this is about this methodical guy, assassin, who has like a slight fuck up on one of these paid assassinations that he's supposed to execute, a person he's supposed to execute, and he screws it up, and then the rest of it turns into sort of like this revenge tale where he's trying to go after the people that hired him because they're coming after him for his mistake, and that's what the whole film is. And it's supposed to be this quiet type of film that doesn't have this, you know, bombastic stuff going on and all these different subplots, and it's not supposed to be this Fincher sort of complex natured thing with characters that are dealing with so many different things in different worlds and all these different, it's supposed to be a very streamlined, simple thing. And Fassbender does a whole lot of narration, and it's like his inner monologue, and you're watching that from the very beginning, which almost put me to sleep. The first 10, 15 minutes of this, I'm thinking, okay, they're setting up this character. He is going to be this methodical OCD type of, you know, guy who's like this uber killer assassin who knows what he's doing, and he's very precise, and we're kind of getting to know that about him. He's got these things and these mantras that he repeats to himself, and we're learning about him, and this is going to be badass. This guy's probably a badass, right? No, honestly, there's so many contradictions to that. You know, there's some humor here where he uses aliases like Oscar Madison and Felix Unger from The Odd Couple and Lou Grant and Reuben Kincaid and George Jefferson. So there's some humor dispersed, you know, throughout the whole thing. And overall, you don't believe that this guy is the methodical, sort of like really serious assassin that he is. It's a total, there's a fight scene in here. He gets into a fight with somebody. It's like a 10, 15 minute fight. If this guy was half as bad as they set him up to be, or what you would think he's supposed to be, it would have been over in like 2 minutes, 5 minutes or something along those lines. But instead it turns into this long drawn fight scene. I just couldn't get behind this movie. Now, I'm sure for the Fincher fanboy, Fincher anatos, you're going to be able to sort of extract moments of this film and parts of this film and say that there's some deep thing happening here, and thematically Fincher was doing this and doing that, and there's, you know, and I'm sure if I work hard enough to do that and if I gave a shit enough, I would be able to do the same thing. But let's just be honest, if this was directed by Joe Blow and it wasn't a David Fincher film, you couldn't honestly watch this and say this had any real value to it. I mean, I don't want it to be about, oh, well, it's a quiet film and it's, you know, it's not as, you know, action oriented, and it's not this thing with all these different twists and turns. No, I don't need that for a film. In fact, what came to mind watching this film was a film that George Clooney did some time back called The American, where he's in Italy and he's an assassin. And there's some similarities there in terms of there's no narration, but you're just watching Clooney go through his days and do what he has to do with, with his job, with his work. And it's a quiet film. And Clooney's character is dealing with some things from a moral standpoint. And there's some, he befriends a priest and a prostitute, and there's something, he falls in love. There's just a lot going on there, even though it's a really quiet, semi-boring film, but there's much more to it. And by the time it gets to the end, there's something that wraps it up, and it's kind of like, okay, was it like a 5-star picture? No, but it was a really solid watch, right? This is not a solid watch. This is just leave you hanging like, okay, I could have done so many other things in the time that I spent watching this. It just doesn't work. Now, if you're asking about whether it's a David Fincher film in terms of Fincher style, in terms of the directing and the editing and how it comes together as a Fincher film, of course, it's David Fincher. Like you're going to find moments where you're visually sort of like, okay, great. It's Fincher-esque. It's the Fincher stamp of things, and we get it. But pacing wise, I don't think it worked very well. Script didn't work very well. The narration thing got really boring really fast. I had no interest in this guy. I had no interest in the film, and I couldn't wait for it to end. So I am actually glad that I did not see it in the actual theater. That said, if you haven't seen this on Netflix and you're somebody who says, look, I'm a Fincher fan, so in order to complete my full catalog of seeing every single Fincher film or Fincher work, I'm going to have to see this, then go ahead and see it. If you're someone just, browsing through Netflix and you're looking for something to watch, skip this one. That's all I can say. It's just not a really good, it's one of the movies where you can kind of sit down and get up and go back and forth, go to the bathroom, go get some food, come back, and you won't miss a fucking thing. I'm telling you. All right. So, and if you want to see a film that's assassin oriented, that's a little quieter and has more depth to it, I recommend The American with George Clooney. This is also compared to Le Samouraï, which was a 1967 French film about an assassin, and there's some similarities there. But even Le Samouraï was more, there was a cat and mouse thing going on there between the assassin and the authorities, and it kind of went back and forth. And there was some things, there's some characters, the piano player in the club. There's a lot of things happening there that made it far more enjoyable. I don't think it's a great film per se, but it, as far as comparison to this film, to The Killer, blows it away. Anyway, that's it for me on That Guy Talks Movies. I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to get back in front of the camera and talk about this. I have more content to come where I talk about, part of my absence and part of what I think is happening with my lack of excitement for actually talking about movies. And that's because I don't think there's a lot of stuff really good to talk about. That's just my take on it. If you've seen The Killer, let me know in the comments below if you think I'm totally batshit crazy or if you agree with me on this. Like the video. I hope you even get to see this, because with me in my absence, right, the algorithm, that might be booting me down to the bottom. No one may even, I might get 0 views. If you are watching this and you're a subscriber of mine, I truly appreciate you. I apologize for being absent. If you haven't subscribed, then hit the subscribe button. If you think this was worth your time, hit the like button if you like the video, and I'll see you on the next That Guy Talks Movies.